Hi there and welcome to my channel. Today we are going to talk about this I guess this could be called kind of like mid-year wrap up, but only going to mention worthy mentions, and there's a lot of them this year because this year started out so great. So actually let's just get into the topic of the video, so the mid-year wrap up, except I'm also going to include July. So it's August now, but I'm also going to include July. So it's kind of like, is it even a mid-year wrap up? Kind of not, kind of yes. So yeah, 7 months of reading. Let's go back to January. Okay, so I ended last year. Actually, we have to go back to December because the last books I read last year. Let's talk about those first. I have them right here. These, The Cruel Prince and The Wicked King. Those are the last two I read last year. So yeah. And you can guess that this year I read The Queen of Nothing. And this trilogy was everything for me. Like, I was obsessed, basically. I'm not surprised. I was expecting to be, because Holly Black, and if you don't know why I love Holly Black so much, just wait. I've lost 2 books. This one has 5 books in it, and these are in Finnish. I think I'm missing books 1 and 2 out of these. Because I think these are a different series, even though they are Spiderwick. But these are like Spiderwick Chronicles, maybe. Anyway, this is books from 1 to 5, and this is book 3 out of like the sequel series. So yeah, but like this is like the 8th book, I think, maybe. Anyway, I've lost at least 2 books, like the one with giants and so on, but stick with me. I have no idea where they are, and I'm so sad. But I have these, and as you can see Holly Black's name on the covers. These are in Finnish, so that's why it may look a little bit weird. I loved these growing up, and these were what Harry Potter was for so many people. Spiderwick was my my mom got me into reading, there's no denying that, but this is what got me into reading like fantasy, like obsessively, and maybe also Narnia. I have the books over there, like in one big book, also in Finnish, and my mom used to read especially like the first book for me, the one that's not in any of the movies or anything. I can't remember the name right now, but the first book in the Narnia books. So, but mostly Spiderwick was like what I was reading to myself when I learned to read. Or maybe a little bit after. I was quite young when I learned to read, but yeah, Spiderwick was what Harry Potter was for so many people. It got me into fantasy even more, and it got me into, into obsessive reading, maybe. So I loved Spiderwick. I loved all the books. I was obsessed with them. I loved the world, the atmosphere, like everything. And I feel like these had that same essence in them, kinda. You know what I mean? So that's why I loved them, and so I read these 2 in December last year. But then I started the year with Queen of Nothing. I was like, it only took me like a week to read all of these, and even then I had days when I couldn't read much. So that's how I started my year. Then we have this book, And obviously this followed The Queen of Nothing. I had to read it. So, How the King of Elfheim Learned to Hate Stories. And this is kind of like a prequel, I think. And like the artwork inside and everything, like this is my kind of book. I love this book. I love this book so much, and I love this series so much. So those were the first books this year, and first books worthy of mentioning, I suppose. I think I could actually check out what ratings I gave these. So, The Queen of Nothing, that was 5 stars. I have my laptop over here, so if you're wondering what I'm looking at, it's my laptop. So remember to mention all of these books and remember my ratings and so on. I don't write reviews unless it's a NetGalley book or unless it's like mind-blowing, I guess. And sometimes when a book is mind-blowing, I don't have the words anymore, you know, by what time I finished reading the book. So anyway, The Queen of Nothing was 5 stars, and How the King of Elfheim Learned to Hate Stories also 5 stars. And I'm not surprised because they had like something similar to Spiderwick. And if you read Spiderwick and like the Folk of the Air trilogy, maybe you noticed that, but like especially for me, Spiderwick was like so precious to me when I was growing up. So yeah, these kind of had that same element, and I loved it. I loved it so much. But then let's move on to another read, and this was also like so close to the beginning of the year, like in January still. It's a duology, and I don't usually finish like series, trilogies, duologies, and so on. I don't usually finish them right away. This year has been a little bit different, so yeah. Honestly, I'm a little bit surprised that I'm finishing so many duologies and trilogies, especially at the beginning of the year, but also closer to now. I've been like somehow finishing or getting so close to finishing series, and that's so unlike me. For example, you see A Darker Shade of Magic over there. I've read the first book, I loved it, or like really liked it at least, and I've never touched the trilogy again. It's on my TBR, yes, but so next book was also 5 stars for me, and it was just vibes. But I'm writing my bachelor's thesis on this book, on the world building in this book, right now. And if you don't already know, my major is comparative literature. So yeah, and this is the book. Because, well, first of all, let's talk about my thesis just a little bit, because I'm so done with that also, but like, yeah. Anyway, One Dark Window. This is kind of gothic, like it has some elements, so it's kind of gothic, but I think it's also dark fantasy in a way, but it's also romantic, like romantic fantasy, so it has so many elements that I get to look into, because genre matters, at least the elements that come with the genre. So yeah, this was a 5-star read for me. I don't know if it would be anymore, now that I've been like, yeah, by the time my thesis is finished, I don't know. But the first time I read it, this was just what I was looking for. Like, it was so fun, like dark enough, and then there were these cards, and I liked them. I know some people disagree, but I liked it. I don't know what else to say. It's like, it has romance elements. It was fun and easy still. And I like the vibes. Like the vibes, that's what got me into this. And I gave it 5 stars. But we were talking about finishing duologies. So I finished duology, Two Twisted Crowns. I'm only writing my thesis on One Dark Window, but I also read Two Twisted Crowns in the beginning of the year. And honestly, I like this. Yes, some things were obvious, like the Shepherd King. I'm not going to say more about that, but it was kind of obvious. I don't want to give spoilers. But if you like, dark, if you like dark fairy tale retellings, this could be kind of that. It's not. I don't think it's a retelling or anything, but it kind of has that same atmosphere, I guess. So this is One Dark Window, the back cover, if you're interested. But yeah, so these both were 5 stars, and I have no, like, I can't name one thing that is the reason for that rating. Vibes. And I had fun with these books. I think that's also important. So now that I'm writing my thesis on One Dark Window, it's a little bit of a different reading experience, and yeah. So these were great, but also depends how you read them. Honestly, I feel like so often I may go into a book reading it as just, just looking for vibes, and if those are the kind of vibes I'm looking for, then it might be, 5 stars just because of that. And now that I'm rereading these and so on, I think there are things that will kind of start to bother me and so on, but also still would highly recommend. So yeah. So those were 5 stars. So far everything has been 5 stars, but now I'm actually going to mention a book that isn't 5 stars, and I got it after I read it, or listened to it as an audiobook. I don't remember ebook or audiobook, but it was from the library or like Libby. So Gilded Wolves, I think it was just so much fun. Just so much fun. This, by the way, a little bit weird. Like, can you see how uneven these pages are? I don't know if they should be. It's fine though, but it's a little bit weird, honestly. Anyway, what is there to say? I thought it was fun, so I got the entire trilogy. I have book 2 and book 3 over here. I don't know. I just found it to be fun. I didn't have. I feel like I rate books based on, the vibes and or like the feelings, or sometimes the characters. It kind of depends, but I have to go so deep into some stories for essays and stuff for my university studies. So sometimes I just don't want to think about, story structure and stuff when I'm just reading for fun, So yeah, that happens often. Anyway, after I listened to this or read it, I can't remember if it was an ebook or an audiobook, but either way, after I read it, I got this book, like this physical copy, and also got the 2 other books in the trilogy. So it was a good read. Then I have to mention a book that I got from NetGalley actually. I think this is my first NetGalley mention. So Smile and Be a Villain by Ives Dunlon. That book is incredible. There's like this historical note from the author in the beginning, and I think even that was like super interesting to read. And it's kind of like, okay, I don't want to say it, but I read it as kind of like Hamlet fanfiction. I don't want to call it fanfiction because it's so much more than fanfiction, but if you like the idea of like Shakespeare fanfiction that is a book, then you will probably like this. And you don't even have to know a lot about Hamlet to read this. You don't have to know anything. But if you read Hamlet, great, you can still read this too. Like, especially Hamlet and Ophelia are like a big part of this story, and there's like these fantasy elements. I really loved the world building and the magic. I think it was intriguing. So if you like Shakespeare and fantasy, maybe this one is for you. I gave it 4 stars. There was some things I wish there had been more of, and some things there should have been less of, or you know, it wasn't quite 5 stars, but it was super good, so I would still highly recommend it, especially if you love Shakespeare and fantasy. But I'd also like to say, just don't expect it to be a happy story, and I think it's going to be a series, at least a duology, maybe more than that. I think I follow the author on social media, and I think they have been posting about the second book. I don't remember if it's going to be like a long series or what, so you know, sorry, can't remember, don't know. But anyway, still, if you like Shakespeare, Hamlet and fantasy all together, then maybe that's for you. Another book I don't have, it's not from NetGalley though. I think I read the ebook from Libby, and that's The Will of the Many by James Islington or Islington, I don't know. I like to say Islington, but right now I'm not actually sure. And if I butcher some of these names, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to do that. Yeah. Anyway, The Will of the Many. It was almost 5 stars, but I just checked and it was 4 stars for me. So maybe I think there was something lacking, something that I wanted there to be more of, or something happened that I just didn't like, and I think that's why I gave it 4 stars. But there were a lot of, you know, it almost had the potential to be 5 stars, so close. So yes, would highly recommend. The Will of the Many it's quite long, but I read it in like 2 days or something, or like 2 evenings. I was like wolfing down basically. It was like I was obsessed. It was like, I don't know, I needed this kind of a more complicated read maybe. I mean, there was just so much in this book, so I would call it kind of more complicated. I don't want to use the word complicated, but I hope you know what I mean by that. But yeah, it's like this, like the world building and everything. There's so much detail, there's so much information. It's just amazing. You know, there's this academy and kind of like hidden and secret identities going on, and like it's kind of like small folk versus like big rich folk, kinda. And I think it's going to be a series, and I can't wait for the next book. There's a lot of commentary on like what's going on in the world, and like in our world you can find that kind of, you know, thoughts within the story, so you may start to think about, you know, the power structure and everything going on in our world as well. So it's really intriguing, and even if you don't do that when you're reading, don't think compare it to our world or anything, you're going to still enjoy this read. So I would highly recommend The Will of the Many. But like it has so much in it, so I think most people who like long hardcore fantasy, I guess, I think most people would, you know, find this to be their thing. They would at least find something for themselves in this book, I think. And there's like also this mystery, by the way. There's so much going on, so it's incredible, and yeah, there's like this academy or like school thing going on, and just so much going on. So yeah. I don't know what else to say about it, but definitely recommend. Next is going to be a romance read, and I read both fantasy and romance, but fantasy first, you know, but I have romance read, as you can see over there. So fantasy is like my thing, but also sometimes you need a nice, fun little romance read. So it's like usually, for example, after I've read like a complicated, like long, complicated, detailed fantasy book. Maybe after that, I sometimes want to read something short, funny, and usually that is a romance book. And I'm not saying it's anything against romance, but like I find romance to be like my it's like it's kind of like a snack in between these big meals. I don't know. That sounds a little bit weird, but I just find like I don't need to work so much. My brain doesn't have to do so much to, understand a romance book. Usually, obviously, there's different romance books, but like usually you can kind of like if you are looking for a fake dating book, you kind of know what's going to happen. Then you find out that it's set in this city and so on. So I don't know. It's just after like long fantasy books, it's just something I crave. It feels easier to read and it's quicker to read as well. So that's kind of what romance is for me from time to time. Not always. Sometimes I just want to read a fun romance read just because I want to read romance. But usually I go to romantasy if I'm just reading for romance, because romantasy is even better than romance books. But anyway, now I'm just yapping. Let's put that in short form. So I like to read fantasy, romantasy, and romance. Mostly contemporary romance when it comes to romance, but like fantasy and romantasy, those are my thing. And next is also obviously a romance read, and it's also from NetGalley. Fake It Till You Make It by Laura Carter. So I think this was okay. This it was exactly a snack between fantasy reads, but what I've written about this, I can't remember everything about this, but what I've written about it is there's characters who have had their hearts broken, and also find there to be like some sort of Pride and Prejudice vibes going on, but this is still contemporary romance, so not historical or anything. But especially close to the beginning, there's like some elements that you can also find in Pride and Prejudice if you've read the book. But yeah, it's essentially a fake dating romance and there's secrets and lies and so on, but you can guess that in the end it's all going to work out. But yeah, so Fake It Till You Make It by Laura Carter. So that's a recommendation for anyone who's looking for a romance read. Another book that I actually... There's a lot... This was like kind of like a roller coaster of a romance read. Yes, another romance read also from got this from NetGalley. The Fallback by Eleanor Goimer. I hope I'm saying the name right. This was kind of a roller coaster because at some points I was like, am I going to hate this book? Am I going to love this book? Am I going to hate this book? So it was a roller coaster of read. In the end though, I gave it 4 stars because at some point I think I was thinking about 3 stars, but then there were points that would have been maybe even 5 stars. So I think that's why I ended up giving it 4 stars, because it had its moments, good and bad, both good and bad. But my favorite part about this book was the characters. So, if characters are important to you in romance book, then definitely read this. I've actually, even in my review that I've written on Goodreads, you can find more books that I've read and perhaps more reviews over there as well. But I've even written here, I love how this book took me on a roller coaster ride. Really, I can even speak. Really, really like the tension, the feels, all of it. So yeah, there's flatmates, friendships, and a fallback plan. I mean, even the name is the fallback. So yeah. There was moments in this book that I didn't like, but also there were moments that I liked, and it's probably going to be a hit or miss kind of book. But I still would recommend checking it out and trying to see if it is maybe for you, if you're looking for a romance read. But next is going to be fantasy, and this is going to be like witchy fantasy. That I think there was also romance in this book and everything, but this actually a book I didn't expect to like. I was going into this book like I'm going to like it, but my sister was like, yeah, you are gonna have to read it, you have to read it, and I'm so glad I did. I think it was also an ebook from the library or something. At least it was from the library, that much I can remember. But anyway, The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, so by Sangu. I hope I'm saying this name at least somewhat correctly, but like Sangu Mandana. I would say Sangu Mandana, but I don't know if that's the correct way to say it. Or is it like Sangu Mandana? I don't know. But anyway, The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. And I've given it 4 stars. I haven't written a review. I don't usually, because usually by the time I finish reading a book, my brain goes blank. So yeah. But this had it had a secret society of witches, and that was so much fun. But there was kind of like secrets, somewhat lies too, but it was also, I felt like it was still mostly super light-hearted and like good feels, you know. So if you're looking, and I don't know, I even got some almost whimsical feels of some of the moments in this book, but there were also, you know, dark moments in this book, but it's not like dark fantasy or anything. But I just think there was, yeah, it was just so much fun. So if you're doubting yourself and thinking, yeah, that book isn't for me, then maybe give it a try, because I thought this wouldn't be for me, and I gave it 4 stars, and I think it was also close to 5 stars. So this book surprised me positively. Then another romance read, and I think this may be the last romance read on this video, but it's also from NetGalley, by the way. I feel like I read so many romance books on NetGalley. I never get to read any of these books anymore. Anyway, the book is The Library of Borrowed Hearts by Lucy Gilmore, and this book includes lovers writing to each other in library books, and there's like 2 timelines, so there's kind of like 2 love stories even. You get to I don't want to spoil anything, but like the modern time is that's like the main story, but you also get to there's like these library books that have these old notes, you know, lovers writing to each other, and I love it so much. And like, yeah. Also, by the way, one of the genres listed for this book on Goodreads is books about books, and I think that's just, yes, that's it. And this was actually 5 stars for me, and I was so obsessed with this book. Like, I feel like so often I rate romance books, they're either 3 or 4 stars. So often. Like, there's very few romance books that have reached 5 stars for me, but this was 5 stars. So, highly recommend. The Library of Borrowed Hearts by Lucy Gilmore, and what I've written about it is there's library books with secret messages, but there's romance outside the library books too. I love how the book plays with the different timelines, and the plot twists in both timelines are amazing. So yeah, like also what I'm reading, like this includes library books, secret messages, romance, heartbreak, true love. So like this is a contemporary romance and it hooked me, and that's rare. So I think I would recommend this to anyone. Especially if you want, you know, an intriguing cast of characters, if you want books about books, you like romance, then definitely go for it, because this perfection. Next is also going to include romance, but this is fantasy, and there were reptiles in this book, like they were riding reptiles in this book. That was, I don't know why I got so obsessed with the reptiles, but I got so obsessed with the reptiles. I think they were called something, but I can't remember what they were called. But like this, also from NetGalley, by the way, and the book is Queen of Shifting Sands by Caitlin Carter Brown. This book, I'm so happy I got it from NetGalley, because I wouldn't have read it otherwise probably. I'm just so happy I got to read it, because it was 5 stars. And all my NetGalley reviews are honest. I swear that I don't even request books I know I wouldn't like, so that's why most of them are 3, 4, or 5 stars. Oh, actually, I feel like not that many are 5 stars, but this one was, and I didn't expect it to be even at first, maybe, but like it was, yeah. There's grief and love and all that stuff. The world building is so cool. Even like on the review I've written, or like I said I love the reptiles especially. I also love the character dynamics. The characters feel real and relatable, but that ending I hate it and love it at the same time. And even like I've written like what it includes. So there's like reptiles, disability rep, and curses. So yeah, it's yeah, it's amazing. That's royalty, you know. It's not kind of court stuff going on than there would be in some fantasy books, I feel like, but there's king, queen, and all that stuff. And those are mostly, you know, main characters who are royals. But there's also, you know, protecting your homeland and reptiles. Yeah, I don't know why I got so into this world building, but it was amazing. And the reptiles. If I didn't already tell you about the reptiles, now I just want to mention the reptiles. Anyway, let's move on before I go on and on and on. But definitely highly recommend that book. Next book is first in the series. I've almost actually finished this series. I think I read the first book in June, then the books following that in like maybe July. Anyway, Blood and Steel by Helen Scheurer. I hope I'm saying her name correctly. I think that's how you're supposed to say it. But anyway, Helen Scheurer. And the series name is The Legends of Thesma. Yeah, I think that's how you're supposed to say it. I think I got it right. Anyway, this is like new adult, high fantasy, fantasy romance, kind of, yeah, like epic romantic fantasy. I think that's what it says even on the cover. And I actually have written a review for this, and it was 5 stars easily. But I think like what I've written here is the best book I've read this year. But it was so far, but the later books in this series were even better. So yeah. First of all, there's spice, good spice. This was better than A Court of Thorns and Roses. Well, actually, I didn't like the first book in A Court of Thorns and Roses even. But this was better than the second book in that series, for me at least. Like, this is like probably my new ultimate favorite. so yeah, Blood and Steel was the first book, and there's like there's, you know, kind of finding yourself and becoming who you wanted to be for so long. There's kind of that element going on in this first book especially, but there's also like there's training, there's kind of like this war academy thing going on, and I really like that, especially in this first book, but also in the second book. But before we go into the second book, I want to mention the, I think it's a prequel. It can be read like separately also, but it's the prequel. And I actually have it. I have it over here. I don't have the other books. I read them on like Next Story or something. But I have the prequel. These are not the characters from like this is like not the main couple, but these characters, at least Guy has already been in book 3, but I don't remember if we see her. Maybe we will see her in the 4th book. But anyway, this is like the prequel, and I think I gave these 4 stars. Let me check actually, because I don't want to say something that's not true. Yeah, I gave it 4 stars. It was close to 5 stars, but still 4 stars. But the other books in this world have been 5 stars easily. But if you're looking for, this is like heavy on romance and stuff, and if you're looking for that, then definitely check this out. I think I read this after the first book, I think, and then I read the second book in the series. But let's talk a little bit about this first. Like, there's shadow magic, but it's not in the same way that it would be, for example, in A Court of Thorns and Roses. This is different. This comes from a dark place, like, and well, I don't want to spoil anything, but like, this is amazing. By the way, it's funny that on the back here it says perfect for fans of A Court of Silver Flames. I didn't like Silver Flames, so yeah, but I still like this a lot. So you don't have to be a Silver Flames fan to like this book, but like this book, I don't know what to say. Yeah, this was amazing, and like I just love how there's like these strong characters, but also I feel like a lot of them actually struggle to be vulnerable with other people, but then they kind of learn, and I just that's so my thing. So yeah, this is the prequel. Then there's the next book in the series, so the second book in the like the main series, and that's Vows and Ruins. And actually, I've left a review on this book as well. I usually don't write reviews, so this is amazing. Rating was 5 stars, and the review says, I think this book finished me obsessed, screaming, already opening the next book in the series. And that was so true, because the ending in the second book, like, oh my god. But this is a finished series. I think the 4th book is coming out in audiobook soon as well or something. So, but the 4th book is like out. You can get the ebook or the hardcover or the paperback already. So like it's a finished series. So I don't even mind that there's kind of like cliffhangers. And actually, you know, cliffhangers, yes, they may be annoying, but I think, well, I'm a writer, so I guess this is kind of like, do I even get to say this? But I think cliffhangers have a time and place. But I even think that as a reader, because I feel like they make some stories like even better. So yes, cliffhangers can be annoying, but I also think they usually work still. Then the 3rd book in the series, and that is Fate and Furies. So yeah, the 3rd book. That book had me screaming and crying and everything. also I gave it also 5 stars, and I didn't write a review apparently, but like that book was so like the main couple in that book and everything, like I can't say much because it's the third in the series, and if I say more it's going to be spoilery. But like in the entire series, like it's will they, won't they, there's a lot of that going on in this, well actually most of the book, but it's so rewarding and like yeah. And the main couple, both of them are like, yeah, I love them, like Thea and Wilder. Yes, yes. And by the way, I have to say, this book, the prequel, this one has like, it mentions one of the main characters. Not like this isn't about the main characters, but that you get to meet younger Wilder Hawthorne in this book. So just thought I'd mention that. Maybe at some point I will make another video about this, but right now I feel like I've been yapping for so long, so I think maybe we should move on. And the next book I think was also from Libby, and it's sorry, it was Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson, and it was like this young adult fantasy. I think you've heard about it. I mean, I feel like a lot of people were talking about it at some point, but it was published like 5 years ago or something. But I finally got around to reading it, which was amazing because Sorcery of Thorns it's amazing. Yes, I gave it 5 stars. There's like, if you like, you know, magical libraries, grimoires, I think there's also like there's some monsters or something, but I think there's also like magic users are like, are they like sorcerers? Yeah, but like if you like all that stuff like sorcerers, so sorcery, libraries, grimoires, but also this kind of like this mystery, or like this like you have to figure out what bad guys are up to or what's going on, and you know there's a lot of that going on, and you get to many different places in this book as well, which I think it's just amazing. And there's also a sequel, I think it's a novella, so a sequel novella, and I also read that. So it's called Mysteries of Thorn Manor. And I think it was so sweet and so like so sweet, so yeah, there's magic, but there's also some sweet romance, so I would definitely recommend it. It was a short, fun read, and yes, it's a novella. And I also gave 5 stars. I ended up liking these characters so much, like this series was amazing. So yeah, I highly recommend both of them. One last book in this mid-year wrap-up is from NetGalley, by the way. And this is the second book in the series. I got the first book also from NetGalley like a year ago or something. And I was so worried that I wouldn't remember what is going on in the world. But I feel like this second book was written in a way where I kind of caught up with my memories as I was reading. So Black Tide Sun by H.M. Long. And first book is Darkwater Daughter, but this second book is called Black Tide Sun. The series name is The Winter Sea, and if you like battles, like battleships on the sea and battle scenes that are happening on, like in the water and on the ships and everything, kind of like this high seas adventure, and there's a lot of like betrayal but also like redemption going on here, and just so much. And I was expecting the romance to be like at the beginning I thought it would be a little bit different than it was, based on the first book, but like I feel like it was so satisfying in the end. Like, but at first I was like screaming at the characters at the book, like, please come on. But like, yeah, this was also 5 stars. There's feelings that keep you waiting for more and adventure that hooks you. I also love the characters. They are so rounded and they genuinely feel real. So there's like feelings, an intriguing fantasy world, adventure, romance. There's so much, but also like there's not just romance. There's also, you know, for example, difficult family relations, and you know, there's a lot of stuff, and kind of like there's also chasing your dreams, but what about when you're chasing your dream, when you have like multiple dreams? What if, you know, chasing all those dreams isn't possible like at the same time? What are you going to do? So there's like a lot going on, but the characters are what actually hooked me. And yeah, we are finally done with the books I've read this year. So those are the honorable mentions of this year, because I think I've read like almost 60 books by now, so that wasn't all of them. I've read so much stuff, and that doesn't even mean that these were all the good ones. These were just ones that I remember the most about, and ones that have stuck with me the best. Because I feel like sometimes I may read a book and give it like 4 stars, and then I don't really remember, wait, what was going on in the book, when I'm like thinking about it later on. So these are stories that stuck with me in the best kind of way, I suppose. So yeah, highly recommend all of these. If you have any questions about these books, let me know. If you have any thoughts, if you've read these books, also let me know in the comments. Remember to subscribe and like the video if you want to. It would be amazing to see you again, and I think that's actually most of it. But before I go, I want to mention one more book that I've read. Actually, I think I haven't read it this year, but I read it last year so many times, and it was finally published this year, so I have to mention it. My own book. But I thought it would be also fair to mention because it was published in January this year, and obviously I like my own book. So Revenge Unleashed, this is the second book in the series. I'm not going to show you the back because spoilers if you haven't read the first book, but definitely recommend checking these out. But yeah, that's about it. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and so on. Share with your bookish friends, and yeah, thank you so much for watching. Bye.